Hi there, it's June Simmons with Onlinesalespro. Today is my day 26 of the Vincent Ortega Jr. 100-Day Video Challenge. And so those of you that know me very well know that I have a son that's in prison. And as a matter of fact, I've done a couple of these videos for my 100-Day Video Challenge in Colorado, which is where I was at visiting my son. And it's just crazy, this TED Talks that I ran into today, and so I wanted to share it with you. It's very touching. It's from February 18th, 2016, and it's from Chris Redlitz. And the title of it is Why I'm Teaching Prisoners to Code. And he says he's with The Last Mile, which is a program. Let's see, let me start over. The Last Mile describes the thinking behind Code 7370 San Quentin, which is a program to rehabilitate prisoners by teaching them to code. And 6 years ago, he says, I entered San Quentin State Prison for the first time. I had never been in a prison before, especially one with a reputation like San Quentin. When I arrived, I was escorted through a series of gates that eventually led to the main courtyard. On my left was the adjustment center that houses death row inmates, some of the notorious criminals in California. On my right, I lost my place. On my right was the Catholic chapel surrounded by a well-manicured garden. I was, as they say, at San Quentin, at the gate between heaven and hell. As the sun was setting, I was led down a paved road, past the guard towers, into the lower yard, where hundreds of men in blue were exercising, playing chess, or just milling around. Frankly, at that point, I was questioning my decision as to why I had come there. These men were committed to learning how they could create a better life after they survived their time. I was taken to a small classroom where I was scheduled to speak to a group of men about business and entrepreneurship. When I began my talk, I noticed that the men were fixed on my every word. There weren't any distractions. There was no cell phones in prison. When I was finished speaking, hands went up into the air. My 30-minute talk turned into a 2-hour discussion. These men were prepared, motivated, and committed to learning how they could create a better life after they served their time. This was not the profile of social misfits that I had expected to encounter. Okay. Oh, yeah, so I was excited after I left the prison that night. Through my years of work at an early stage venture fund, I worked with aspiring entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley for a long time. Could I do the same with those in prison? Oops, I didn't get that back quite right. Okay. I was excited to tell my wife, Beverly, and to develop a plan. Her first reaction was, I am not spending my time in prison. I asked her to have an open mind before making any judgment. I asked her to help me do some research into incarceration in America and visit San Quentin to meet the men that I'd met that day. When we learned about issues facing the prison systems today, it was shocking. From 1972 to 2010, the number of people in prison in the U.S. had increased by 700%. 25% of the world's incarceration population is in the U.S. In California, we spend more on prisoners than on higher education. It costs about $47,000 to keep one prisoner in jail in California for 1 year. And more than 67% of state prisoners released in 2005 were arrested within the next 3 years. So you don't have to be a professional investor to realize that that's a bad investment for the taxpayers. And so if we could reduce recidivism just by 5%, we could save billions of dollars over the next 10 years. But without rehabilitation, these problems will persist. So in 2010, partnering with the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation and the California prison industry. We created a 6-month business and entrepreneurship program called The Last Mile to leverage many of the disciplines that we use within our investment practice. We work with prisoners who have committed many crimes, some of them violent. We do not, however, work with anyone on death row or anyone that has committed crimes against children. So none of our graduates have gone back to jail. This is a really emotional subject for me with my son being there, but so well worth it. Anyway, so we asked them in to create a business around a personal passion, and we taught them how to build a business plan. In one of the early graduating classes, James Houston developed a nonprofit business plan that would positively impact at-risk youth in his old neighborhood. So James created Tech Hub, an after-school program, teaching app development and basic coding instructions for kids 10 to 14 years old. And serving 18 years in prison, after serving 18 years in prison, James returned to Richmond, California to pursue his dream. He was hired by the city of Richmond, and he plans to launch Teen Tech Hub in the fall of 2016. So in 2014, we launched Code 737 in San Quentin, the first computer programming curriculum in a U.S. prison. The results have been extraordinary. Some of our graduates will be released this year, and we are very confident that they will be hired as software engineers. With this hard work and determination, these men have overcome serious obstacles and created a positive path for their future. Okay. The Code 737 curriculum. Oh, they even have the names of these guys up here. I won't put them on here, but yeah, that's pretty cool. The Code 737 curriculum will be introduced to 5 more prisons in California this year, including 2 women's prisons. We hope to create a national program within the next 5 years. Beverly and I have become lifers. The Last Mile is a long life commitment for us, and we are blessed with so many incredible people have dedicated their time to make this program such a powerful experience. We are proud of our returned citizen graduates, none of whom have gone back to jail. They have paved the way for others to follow. Okay. So that's just another TED Talk. Crazy. All right, so thank you guys for listening and watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 27. Thanks.